Aluminum is a cornerstone of modern life, light, strong, and resistant to rust. For the US and Canada, it's more than a commodity. It's vital to their economies and security. The aluminum trade forms a deeply integrated supply chain, linking factories and workers across the border. US industries like aerospace and automotive depend on a steady aluminum supply. Canada's hydroelectric power gives it an edge in production, supporting thousands of jobs. The US relies on Canada's capacity, while Canada depends on the US market. Aluminum is not just a material, it's a link binding two nations together. Aluminum starts as bauxite, a reddish rock mined in tropical regions. It's refined into alumina, then smelted using huge amounts of electricity. Why Canada, with cheap hydropower, excels at production. Aluminum's appeal? It's light, strong, corrosion-resistant, and endlessly recyclable. Recycling aluminum uses just 5% of the energy needed to make new metal, making it highly sustainable. You encounter aluminum daily: window frames, kitchen foil, soda cans, car parts, even your smartphone's casing. Its properties make it essential for modern living and innovation. After use, aluminum is collected and recycled. An old can can become a new one in just 60 days. This closed-loop system saves energy and reduces mining. Aluminum's recyclability is a key part of its environmental story. The industry's circular economy ensures resources aren't wasted. Aluminum's journey from bauxite to product to recycling shows its value in both manufacturing and sustainability. It's a hidden workhorse, quietly powering our daily lives. The simple aluminum can is a symbol of modern industry and environmental responsibility. Aluminum's story is one of transformation, efficiency, and renewal. It's a material that never stops working for us. The US-Canada aluminum partnership began over a century ago, driven by the need for cheap, abundant electricity. American companies turned to Canada's hydropower, especially in Quebec, to fuel aluminum smelting. During both World Wars, this alliance was crucial. Canadian aluminum powered Allied aircraft production. Post-war, aluminum demand soared for consumer goods, cars, and planes, deepening cross-border trade. Supply chains became tightly integrated, with parts moving back and forth across the border. Formal trade agreements like the 1989 Free Trade Agreement and NAFTA eliminated barriers, cementing economic integration. The aluminum trade became a blueprint for broader US-Canada cooperation. It's a story of shared resources, mutual benefit, and resilience through global change. For over 100 years, aluminum has bound these two economies together. Today, the US is the world's largest aluminum importer, and Canada is its top supplier. Millions of dollars in aluminum cross the border daily, supporting a massive manufacturing ecosystem. Canada supplies up to 2/3 of US primary aluminum imports. The trade isn't just raw metal. Canada exports primary aluminum, which US factories transform into sheets, bars, and finished goods. The US has limited smelting capacity, producing less than 1 million metric tons annually, but consuming over 5 million. Canada produces about 3 million metric tons, exporting most of it to the US. This interdependence is protected by the USMCA, keeping trade mostly tariff-free. However, surges in imports or falling prices can spark tension and calls for protection. The relationship is both foundational and occasionally contentious. The numbers reveal a deeply integrated, high-stakes trade. Both nations rely on each other to keep their industries running. The aluminum trade is a pillar of North American manufacturing. It's a partnership built on scale, trust, and necessity. Why does the US depend so much on Canadian aluminum? Proximity and reliability. Canada is next door, making transport fast and cost-effective. National security. Aluminum is essential for military hardware, and sourcing from a trusted ally is critical. Canadian aluminum is produced with clean hydropower, giving it a lower carbon footprint than metal from coal-powered countries. As US companies seek greener materials, Canadian aluminum is increasingly attractive. The U.S. has closed most of its own smelters due to high costs, but its manufacturing sector still needs vast amounts of aluminum. Canadian supply supports hundreds of thousands of American jobs in downstream industries. The partnership is about more than trade. It's about security, sustainability, and economic strength. Canadian aluminum helps U.S. manufacturers stay competitive and innovative. The relationship is strategic, not just commercial. Sourcing from Canada reduces geopolitical risks. The U.S. gets a steady, high-quality supply, fueling its economy. Canadian aluminum is the backbone of American industry. This cross-border flow is essential for both nations' prosperity. Canada's aluminum industry relies heavily on the U.S. market. 80 to 90% of its output goes south. This trade supports tens of thousands of Canadian jobs, especially in Quebec and British Columbia. Aluminum is a high-tech, high-wage sector, boosting Canada's GDP and export revenue. Integration with the U.S. supply chain gives Canadian producers a major advantage: privileged access and fewer trade barriers. The USMCA solidifies this relationship, allowing Canadian smelters to operate efficiently at scale. But dependence on one customer brings risk. U.S. tariffs or economic slowdowns can hit Canada hard. The Canadian government must constantly manage this delicate balance. The U.S. market offers opportunity and wealth, but also vulnerability. For Canada, the aluminum trade is both a strength and a strategic challenge. The health of the industry is tied to U.S. demand. Managing this relationship is a top priority for Canada's economy. Despite deep integration, the U.S.-Canada aluminum trade faces recurring disputes, especially over tariffs. In 2018, the U.S. imposed a 10% tariff on Canadian aluminum, citing national security. Canada retaliated with tariffs on U.S. goods, escalating tensions. American manufacturers relying on Canadian aluminum faced higher costs, while Canadian producers saw profits shrink. Disputes often center on surges in imports, with U.S. producers fearing depressed prices. Canadian producers deny wrongdoing, arguing fluctuations are normal market behavior. Even after tariffs were lifted, the threat remains, with mechanisms in place to monitor trade. The real conflict is within the U.S., between smelters seeking protection and manufacturers needing affordable aluminum. These internal tensions spill over, straining the cross-border relationship. Trade disputes are a recurring challenge in an otherwise strong partnership. The aluminum trade is resilient, but not immune to political pressures. Navigating these disputes is key to maintaining stability. Both countries have strategies to support their aluminum industries. The U.S. protects manufacturers and maintains a small, advanced smelting base for security and green tech. Canada leverages clean hydropower with support for efficient green production. When disputes arise, Canada uses diplomacy and, if needed, retaliatory measures. The Fortress North America approach treats the continent as a single, integrated market. The aluminum trade symbolizes deep economic integration and shared interests. Both nations benefit, but the U.S. arguably wins more, gaining strategic security from a trusted neighbor. Aluminum is more than metal. It's a foundation of North American prosperity.